This is what COVID sounds like. This is what COVID looks like. This is what COVID does. Because COVID overwhelms the body, not just of the patient, but that of the system around them.
I was around in the first wave. I didn't think anything could be more challenging than that first wave, and I was absolutely wrong.
The volume is staggering. All of a sudden you've got a lot of patients who are sick with the same set of symptoms.
The fact is we've lost control of this virus this winter. We knew it was coming, but we've lost control. People are dying because we've lost control of the virus, yeah.
Have we been managing on the edge? Yes, I think we have.
Northwick Park in northwest London is one of the largest hospitals in the UK. Busy day?
Yeah.
It's a leading centre of medical excellence of every hue. Today, the bulk of its operations are devoted to COVID-19.
Laurence John, and I'm a consultant in infectious diseases here at Northwick Park and Ealing Hospital. Like many wards in the hospital, this has been transformed into a COVID ward, yes.
And how many COVID patients have you got in hospital at the moment?
In the order of 530 or so at the moment. Again, it's changing every day. Got close to 600 last week. So that's almost, 3/4 of patients are COVID in this hospital. There are more patients now than there were in March and April and May. And if those numbers continue, then it doesn't matter how good we are at looking after COVID. We'll just run out of beds. We'll run out of beds, whatever age you are, for those requiring ventilatory support. If the numbers continue to rise, we will not be able to cope.
Hello there, how are you doing? You okay?
Fine, thank you.
Good. What's your name?
My name is Gifty Sabel.
If that day had come, if that capacity had been breached, Gifty, a 55-year-old carer and mother of two, would no longer be with us.
It was getting very bad. At home, I couldn't stand on my feet. Yeah, from living room to there. Although someone has to hold me, it affects my whole body. All my children, husband, they all got it. They are all at home.
All your children have got it as well?
Yeah, my children. So we thank God for people in the health system. God bless all of them. It's wonderful.
Well, thank you very much, friend. Thank you very much.
She was very short of breath when she came in. She'd been unwell at home for quite a few days, which is very typical with this illness. She couldn't talk in sentences when she came in. We had to give her lots and lots of oxygen. But as I say, fortunately, with the medicines that we've got, the dexamethasone and the antiviral drugs, and with the oxygen therapy, she's improving. So it's a good sign.
How different has it been compared to the first wave for you?
So I think in the second wave, it's the only good thing about the second wave is that at least we're seeing that the medicines, the dexamethasone and the antiviral drugs we've been using are starting to make a difference. So we're seeing patients recover that we wouldn't have seen recover in the first wave. So that's at least reassuring and good for us to see that. So there is some hope there.
But it does mean, it's a great positive, thank goodness. But obviously it does also mean, more people are staying in hospital for longer, the pressure is greater on space.
Huge pressure on our beds at the moment. We're desperately trying to get people better out of hospital as soon as we can. We're doing a good job, we're getting people better. Unfortunately, we're just staying ahead of this at the moment.
What about all of the non-COVID patients? Where are they going?
Well,
what are they doing?
it's a terrifying thought. And what we saw after the first uncontrolled wave of COVID was mortality from conditions which were not COVID, cancers which were diagnosed too late, heart attacks, strokes. In my specialty, tuberculosis was presenting as if you were in the tropics, patients presenting with terribly late with tuberculosis. So it's a terrifying thought what's happening to all the other conditions.
There are people who say that the NHS is focusing on COVID to the exclusion of all else, and that's bad. It is bad, but it misses the point, because right now, such are the numbers, such is the loss of control, that they can do no other. There is no choice. Professor Susan Clark is one of the country's leading bowel surgeons, but now, and for the foreseeable future, she won't be.
At the moment, we can't do any other than emergency operating, and most of the operations that I do are not emergencies, so I'm not able to operate at the moment.
Presumably, some of the people whose operations or procedures are being deferred, or treatment is being deferred, I mean, how serious might that be for them?
It may be very serious.
How do you feel about that?
It feels terrible, but at the same time, well, I'm working in intensive care and I'm seeing people, wave after wave of people coming through the doors of the emergency department here, being put onto oxygen, going to the wards, coming to intensive care, and those people have to be looked after too. We are overwhelmed by the amount of work that needs to be done, and we are trying to do our best with all of the teams from the very top to the bottom to try and get through.
And you were already dealing with a backlog from the first wave, I assume?
That is correct, yes. We still haven't actually seen all the patients who were referred to us and cancelled during the first wave in outpatients. The NHS was already very stretched before COVID came along. We already had quite significant waiting lists for endoscopy and for surgery.
That's what keeps me up at night. We have waiting lists that are extended because of this, and we were working through them between the two waves of the pandemic, and it's heartbreaking to be pushed back again on that.
And they lose their lives as a result. That's the worst case scenario.
Potentially that would be the worst case scenario. They have more extended treatment or suboptimal results from that treatment.
A&E is the front of the front line, where the volume feels heaviest, where the speed feels quickest.
This is where any COVID patients will come in, the ambulances come through there, and then we will direct them either into resus here.
So it's specifically for COVID, it's all COVID patients or suspected COVID patients who all come in through here?
We effectively run two different emergency departments now. Oh, you coming that way? So we've got 7 bays in here. So all full at the moment, aren't they, generous?
So 7 bays, and these are for people who've just come in very recently?
Yes, literally these are the super sick ones, patients that come in on a blue lights, and we'll bring them straight in here. Because we're more prepared in here, there's a larger area, we've got all the equipment, and it's just a more intense staffing ratio.
Right.
So this is an empty bay ready to receive the next patient.
I can't imagine it'll be empty for long.
No, there's one on the way.
There's one on the way to fill it
just
momentarily.
Hear the phone ringing.
They were right. It didn't take long at all.
Relax, relax. Are you alright? Do you know where you are? No. You're in the hospital.
It's terrifying how quickly people get sick in COVID. You're having a conversation, 10 minutes later, they're needing emergency life-saving procedures.
The people we are used to seeing have underlying conditions or have been involved in an accident or something that is unexpected, and something like this is totally different to what we're used to managing. So, we're getting people the same age as you and I coming in, and they can't breathe and they're going off to the intensive care unit.
We sort of crammed 12 months of emergency medicine into like 4 weeks. So the amount of times you would do CPR in 2 years, you might do in a month. The amount of time that Heather and the sisters were phoning people to break bad news, what you do in a year, you're doing in 2 or 3 days. The whole year it's been maybe 3 or 4 years of emergency medicine in 1 year, and that's what's been hard for the staff.
So Trish, how many people have you got in here at the moment?
So I think we've got 26 patients in here.
26 at present?
Yeah.
And is this your only ITU ward? Or?
No. So we've got 2 floors. This floor, and we've got another floor on the 3rd level.
Right. How many extra beds have you created in this ward?
We've actually increased it up to 28, 29 altogether. This morning I came into empty beds, which is something that's quite a treasured sort of surprise, really. So that is a good sign for us. However, it's still very challenging because we've had 3 admissions this morning already.
3 just this morning?
That's coming in, yes.
Coming in from outside the hospital or within the hospital?
Within our hospital.
So within the hospital, because their condition has got worse?
Correct.
That must be very, I mean, it's quite a pace, isn't it, of new patients?
It is.
So it must
It
be
is.
very
It's
challenging.
very challenging.
How ill are these patients? They're extremely
They're very ill. They're critically unwell. These are patients who are needing multi-organ support. So they're needing support with their breathing, they're needing support with their heart, and they're needing support with their kidneys. This is their last hope. This is the areas where they come to when there is nowhere else.
These aren't old people we're looking at here, are they?
They're young. They are young. Sorry, there's one of our admissions coming in.
This is a new patient coming in as we speak?
Yes, yes.
Probably from somewhere else in a hospital because
Correct.
their condition
Yes.
has declined.
Yeah.
It looks like there are a lot of staff, and there is. It looks like there are a lot of beds, and there are. But once again, the theme is the same. This is a hospital which is operating at the outer edge of what it can do.
We're as full as we've ever been. We're managing to stay sort of 1 or 2 beds ahead of things at the moment, but that's with a lot of help from our neighbouring hospitals. There's a very well organised transfer network with colleagues who are helping to move patients to and fro between ITUs.
Obviously, to the layman, 1 or 2 beds ahead doesn't sound like very much headroom.
No, it's a very tight
uncomfortable.
margin, and sometimes there are multiple people who deteriorate at the same time. And this is just our situation here today. There are times when things are very full, and certainly even as we speak, the hospitals elsewhere in the country are extremely busy right at their capacity.
Moreover, this is a hospital operating at the edge of what it should do.
You could be looking now at sort of 3 beds to 1, 3 ITU beds to 1 nurse, and normally you'd be talking about 1-to-1 nursing.
Do you think that's safe?
Yeah, I think they're just safe.
The Prime Minister once said that the National Health Service is an institution powered by love. But it isn't, or at least not alone. In the main, it's powered by its resources, its people, decisions made by politicians years ago and weeks ago, all are shaping the crisis it now endures. But for this moment, it relies on us. Yet there are those among us who claim that the crisis in our hospitals is confected or exaggerated, or it is no different to what is typical. Those people must open their eyes, must see what is here, realise how close to the edge we are, how close we might yet be.